Never a wrong answer.
My
So
dad
you
used to always say to me, I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong. I can never figure out what the hell that meant.
It's a dad thing. I get it. Trust me, I get it.
Hank, how many kids do you have?
Just the one.
Just one?
But he's so big that he counts for like three. He's 16 and he's almost 6'4".
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Where's the height come from? Your wife's
My wife's
side?
side of the family. All the men are 6'4", 6'5".
Wow. 16. So he's a sophomore, junior?
He's a sophomore. He goes to school in Jersey, actually. He goes to Dwight Englewood.
oh, it's way John Travolta's high school, I believe.
Is that right? I didn't know
Yeah,
that. That's a
yeah.
fun fact for you right there.
And Brooke Shields, I think, too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. We live.
We're live. You just got to share it now, Ryan, when you get a chance.
Share the love.
All right, there we go. Sharing. All right, there we go. Sharing. All right, we're good. We should be live.
Okay. We are live. I see it.
All right, Howie.
All right. So we're going to do a special welcome today. This is every episode is an honor, but there's sometimes where I throw something at the wall and I say, I hope this guy says yes. Okay. And it's
Some
really
honors are bigger than others, right?
right. And we're really, really honored to have a legend in show business and a legend now in the music business. And he has joined our world, the Spring Nut world, and he's got the Easy Street band. And I am so excited to welcome the great Hank Azaria to the Spring Nut Cafe.
Hey,
Welcome.
everybody.
Welcome.
What's up, Spring Nuts? I'm also a legend in my own mind, Howie. Don't leave that out.
Well, that's another reason why. Okay, well, see that you didn't have it on the press release, but but
Under
we'll
special
get that.
skills on the resume. It's tough.
Gotcha. But it's a real pleasure, and I want to introduce of course, our host Ryan Hilligoss, who's always at the helm, and now our great buddy Stan Goldstein. Julie is at work still, but she's chiming in, so we'll take her questions as we go. Very jealous, I'm sure. Um, but Ryan, take it away.
Thank you, Hank. This is truly a privilege to just to talk to you. So we appreciate you taking the time to do this.
I'm just glad you appreciate it because I'll tell you that most of my family doesn't.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. You said a legend in your own mind. Is that how your son sees you? Does he throw that at you, Dad? You're a legend in your own mind?
He doesn't know that expression, but if whatever the 16-year-old equivalent of that is, I'm sure he thinks it. And it's hard to break through, to impress the kids. I don't know if you have kids, I'm sure you've experienced it. Not even The Simpsons really impresses my son that much. He does like Brockmire, Marshall Brockmire, he just discovered, and he finds that funny. So, so I'm glad I have a couple of things that he likes.
Well, Bruce has talked about that. When his kids were little, up until now, their adult ages, they don't want to hear 50,000 people screaming their dad's name. They don't want to hear that. That doesn't go with their flow.
No, they don't. And when he was little, I used to read all this, bedtime stories to him in voices, which he loved. And then there came a moment when he's about 7 or 8 where he's like, Dad, just, just let the words live. Just don't gussy it up. Just let's hear the story. I don't need to hear Mo the bartender is the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz.
So, based on my research, you're lifelong, or you were born and raised in Manhattan. Is that correct?
Born and raised in Queens.
Queens.
I moved back to the city permanently like 12 years ago, but I've had a place here for like 20 years in the city.
So, where did the acting come from? Just give us a little background on where that came from.
I really don't know. Nobody in my family does that. A lot of characters in my family, but we could probably all say that. And I don't know, mimicry. I just was born with plastic vocal cords and could imitate really anything, almost anything since I was little. And I was left alone a lot, really was as a kid. I was raised by the television. And so in my room there was TV, there was turntable, and it was back in the 70s. And so yeah, I just kind of fell into that was my whole world. And I didn't realize imitating all that stuff was a special skill until much later in life. I thought everybody could just imitate everything they heard. And that's what kind of got me into it. Including I've been imitating Bruce since I was a teenager, because I worship a lot of it. I say this in our shows. A lot of my impressions came out of hero worship. I wanted to be Bruce Springsteen, Walt Frazier, and Al Pacino, I think in that order when I was growing up.
Great combo.
Wow.
Yeah, great guys.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imitate Clyde on the court, God knows. But I could imitate Al Pacino, young Al. I could imitate Bruce. And their work, Bruce's music and his talks, as we called them, meant the world to me growing up, as a lot of us, right?
I just had this conversation today with somebody. What I truly miss is, and at the time, there's a reason for it. Like back in the 70s, he would talk, he would tell his shaggy dog stories
Yeah.
for 10 minutes between songs because he didn't have the material. He was stretching it out. He was trying to make that connection with the fans. Now it's like he's 30 albums later, he's got the music. He just wants to go one song after the other. But I miss the shaggy dog stories.
I do too. And, back then, uh, you guys probably remember, Stan and Howie, getting those bootlegs wasn't so easy.
Oh,
Mhm.
Bleecker
And
Bob's.
yes, totally. Bleecker Bob's.
Yeah.
And I would go down there almost every Saturday, take the F train to the E into the village from Queens and, check out. And it had so many good vinyl Bruce bootlegs.
Oh yeah.
And those talks were just like finding gold.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they were so random. You can tell he didn't necessarily know they were gonna be preserved. But they made as much of an impression on me as the music.
When did you
Right.
first see Bruce, Hank? When was your first show?
My first show was the River Tour at Madison Square Garden. I think it was 80 or 81.
80.
He-
Yeah.
Was it 80?
Yeah.
Yeah, River Tour. No, my first was No Nukes,
Ah,
technically.
yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
That was a pretty amazing show. But that left me like I only had kind of eyes for Bruce in that show. And so it was like a tease almost. It was a great night, but I couldn't wait for, my first full-blown Bruce show.
Mm.
Hank, have you had a chance to see the redone No Nuke show that they put out a couple years ago?
No, I didn't know
They
they did that.
Tom Zimney did his magic and found some clips and the music and he synced it together somehow, so it's out there. Check it out. My mind was blown. Like people you hear about, I mean, I'm 51 years old, so I miss that heyday.
Yeah, you're a little too young for that.
But you hear people talk and it's like one thing to hear somebody describe it, but to see it, like I cannot believe how intense and on fire they were that night.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
No, I was there. I was there. I guess I was 79. I was 15 years old.
Mm.
Wow.
And back then, my first concert was MSG in 1976. I saw Jethro Tull.
Wow.
And back then, I remember my dad, guy he worked with could get tickets, so he got us tickets. And me and my two idiot 12-year-old buddies took the train into the city alone. Uh, you know, saw the show, surrounded by people smoking pot all around us and whatever the heck else was going on, and got home like at midnight. I just think, now with this, my son's 16, when he was 12, I never would have let him go to MSG by himself with his two idiot friends. It's amazing how times have changed.
And
My
now you're
first,
sitting
oh, sorry, go ahead, Stan.
courtside at Knick games in Celebrity Row.
When, every once in a while, when that can be finagled, Ben Stiller was kind enough to invite me last night. It's fun sitting there next to Ben, I'll tell you that. It's a very It's like being the mayor of Madison Square Garden. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was the No Nukes was my where I became my official spring nut. I mean, I saw it on video. Not I wasn't there, but I remember seeing No Nukes and I was like, what the hell is this? And I that was it for me. That was the
Was
show.
that your first intro to Bruce?
It was my first visual intro to Bruce.
Okay.
Verbally and through audio, I listened and whatever, but I didn't know what the live experience. I mean, I had the bootlegs and whatever, and that guy, but to see it was like during, and I just watched them do the quarter to three, flipping of the guitar back and forth, and ripping his shirt off, and I used to be a Pete Townsend fan, and the bet I used to see the windmill. That was
Yeah.
something that it did my childhood, but Bruce took it to a different level totally, and that was it. But No Nukes is a great show to start with for sure.
Yeah, but like
Baptism
I
by
said,
fire.
I want, I knew at that point that he'd play these 4-hour shows. So I almost felt cheated. I was like, oh, we only got like half an hour of Bruce. Yeah.
Yeah.
So any other you're listening to Bruce in the 70s, obviously, when he came out with his first albums. What else were you listening to at that time?
Yeah, I'm a definite classic rock guy. I mean, that same summer, we just played a show in Aspen, and this kid who I hadn't seen since camp, uh, since '79 was my last year at summer camp. David Blumenfeld from Roslyn, New York, introduced me to the summer of '76 to Bruce music. And that same summer was all about Bruce and ELO that summer. That New World Record came out that year. It was a great album. And back then we all loved the big three, the Stones and the Beatles and the Who and Led Zepp and the Who. I really loved all that post-punk. Um, that I consider like that was the height of my teenage when you followed every release, Elvis Costello, Pretenders, um, the Cars, that whole era. Uh, Bruce was always number one for me. What's funny? I talk about this a lot with my friends that it was such an embarrassment of riches of that kind of music back then. I loved it, but I didn't appreciate it enough. I never, there were so many songs, right, that would say rock and roll will never die. And I always thought it was, sorry, my phone's ringing. I always thought that was a joke. Like, of course it can never die, but I guess the classic rock, there's a lot of good new music now, but that classic rock canon is kind of finite in the same way that my parents, they're that Great American Songbook era, that Sinatra era. And that's a finite, songbook. And so it kind of amazes me that that's true of classic rock now. And like we were talking about the record stores, if I wasn't down at Bleecker Bob's, we had a local record store. Every weekend, you just go look through what was released, and every week was a new gem, right? Like some classic was coming out, and so I remember thinking like you have your top seven, like to me it was Bruce and Elvis and Tom Petty and a couple other bands I mentioned, and then everybody else to me was like, they're okay, they're good. But these are like, but in that category was bands like Bad Company or Foreigner, or these Journey, Styx, these incredible bands that to me were like, they're all right. Because, there was so much to choose from back then.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to talk about Bruce and the Easy Street Band, but I can't talk to you and not. I'd be remiss for my own personal reasons, selfishly, if I don't ask you about one role you had in particular. So did you get into acting in high school, in college? When did you start?
I started doing play. I think 11th grade, I did my first play. I know, I always got cast in the camp productions, whatever. But I always begrudgingly, I'd get cast if I tried out, but I'd rather have been on the ball field. And then I did in college, I got serious about it. And I went to school with Oliver Platt. He was there at the same
Mm,
time.
wow.
Wow.
Did a lot of productions together. There were a lot of really good actors and directors there, and I kind of, it wasn't a conservatory. I went to Tufts in Boston, but their theater department was really robust. And by the end of college, I realized that's when I kind of put two and two together that this mimicking ability could be very useful as characters on stage. Um, and I was like, I'll regret it if I don't at least try to be a professional actor. But I was sure that after a few years, I would be back at grad school for psychology. And then I started getting jobs like right away. I wasn't killing it, but I was getting enough work to stay at it.
Oliver Platt's had a phenomenal career. First time I remember seeing him in a movie was Flatliners, which was what, early
Yeah, that was one of
90s.
his early ones. Yeah.
But yeah, he's been one of those guys that anytime there's certain actors that anytime they're in you see them in a TV show or a movie, like they just elevate the movie or the project just being there with their ability.
I got to do a show. I produced a Showtime series about 20 some odd years ago now called Huff about a psychiatrist. And it was pretty good. It was one of, I don't say that about all my work, but this one I was pretty proud of. And Oliver, I got to cast Oliver in that as my best friend, and he was nominated for an Emmy for it, actually.
Well, you mentioned Al Pacino, obviously one of the huge heavyweights of American cinema. 1995, Heat comes out. The scene I need to ask you about is your scene with Mr. Pacino. You're being questioned, interrogated, told what you're gonna do, and he kind of volcanically explodes, and you have this tremendous look of fear, confusion on your face. Uh, Was that scripted? Was that rehearsed at all? Did you know what was coming?
That's really a pretty funny story. Uh, you're working with Al. This is old Al. Old Al Pacino sounds like this. Young Al. Young Al is more, dog day afternoon Al's up here. I'm dying here. Everybody's
Oh,
coming down on me
great
here.
move.
So, now fun fact, by the way, I tell this in my shows. You take young Al Pacino on one end and Bruce Springsteen on the other, right in the middle there. That's Mo the bartender. He's a mashup. A young Al and Bruce. Um, so yeah, like Michael Mann who directed Heat, he does like hundreds of takes, so many takes. So for the first 64 takes, Al just went, because she got a great ass, and you got your head all the way up it. And then he just went bananas on a give and take and went, she got a great. And Al was ad-libbing a lot, and I asked Michael Mann, I said, Michael, I was young enough to actually ask permission, stupid. I said, should I ad-lib back? And Michael Mann went, nah, just do what's written there. Just say what's on the page. And so maybe part of what drove Al nuts was no matter how much he was switching around, I kept just saying the same thing back. So it finally explodes. And no, I was an ad lib. I wasn't even acting. I was terrified that my hero just screamed great ass into my face. And I went, I went, Jesus. And that's the only ad lib that I said, and it made it in the movie. Yeah. And Al even responded to it. I think he goes, I'm sorry. Something happens to me when I think about a woman's ass, or whatever he said.
Hey Ryan, I had a great idea. So, that maybe in one of the cafes we don't have a visual and we just say we're having Al Pacino on the show and have him just do and let him be Al Pacino. And we
Yeah,
can say that it's Al Pacino.
I'll just say, I'm sorry. I have to keep my camera off, but go ahead, ask me anything you like.
That had to be a mind trip for you, being a Pacino fan and then being able to work with him pretty, early in your career.
I honestly couldn't believe it. Like every step of the way I went in my career, time I got cast, I wanted to go, really? Are you sure? Are you serious? From like big things to little things. And when I got The Simpsons, I didn't realize you didn't know how big a deal it was. You didn't think, oh, this will be on for 40 years. Why would you think that? I mean, it was a primetime adult cartoon, in the early days of the Fox network, you didn't even think Fox network was going to last, let alone some primetime cartoon on it. So yeah, I've had an odd career in that way. And then yeah, I still to this day don't know how I got so lucky, but I had a lot of right place at the right time moments, like being able to do Heat.
Well, you don't have a career like yours without having the ability to do it, or else you wouldn't be in demand like you are.
Well, tell that to my agent, will you?
We'll put in a word for you.
Yeah, dude, make a couple of calls.
All
While
right,
we're on movies, we're gonna get back to
go
Bruce,
ahead.
but
Yes.
can you talk about The Birdcage? We're getting some comments about The
Yeah,
Birdcage, and that's one of my favorite movies. And
mine too. Mine
how
too.
you prepared for that role and working with Robin Williams and Gene Hackman and a young Callista Flockhart. Um,
Yes. Um, the amazing thing is that night of great ass shot on. That was my 30th birthday that night. Okay. April 25, 1994.
That's Julie's
It was-
birthday too, by the way.
hmm.
Whose birthday?
My wife, Julie, same
Is that
birthday.
right?
Yep, we got to
Of
celebrate together.
course.
Okay, nice.
Um, and also Al Pacino's birthday. It was Al's birthday that night as well. I
Oh wow.
we shot all night on great ass, which in my opinion should only taken a couple hours, but took us all night long because Michael likes to shoot a lot. And I had to go straight at dawn over to the set of the Birdcage.
Hmm.
So I shot all night on Heat on my 30th birthday, and then all day on Birdcage that day. And Agador Spartacus is the name of the character.
The
I
best.
worked on a Guatemalan accent, and then I realized I sound exactly, and I mean exactly, like my maternal grandmother, my grandma Esther, who we call Mama. We're Sephardic Jews, Spanish Jews.
Me too.
Are you a Sephardic Jew?
Yep, I am.
Did we spoke about this, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. At the serenade, and you met my mother, and you also told
Yes.
me my
Yes,
mom.
yes. I always remember a fellow Sephardo.
Sephardic Jew.
Um, so yeah, so she had a Spanish accent because she spoke Ladino. And it was a good basis for the role because she was very maternal and feminine and loving, but very excitable as well. So yeah, that was the birdcage.
I will say one thing that, that movie, and I remember watching it 100 times, and you know, even though, Robin Williams and everybody was fantastic. Your character, and I'm not saying it because you're sitting here, it's just I remember that stood out for me. I used to rewind it with my kids because they used to crack up from it, just from seeing the thing, especially when you lost your shoe and the thing. It was phenomenal. I mean, even to this now, I feel like after this broadcast, we're gonna this is what I'm gonna be watching tonight as a Birdcage. But Jules, we're gonna be watching the Birdcage tonight. But just
Yeah, no, that movie has like stood the test of time, as I say. And I got to say, the great Mike Nichols directed it, and it started out as just a two-scene small role. And thanks to Mike and Robin, they sort of saw it was funny and grew it and let me do more and more and more. And then it was thanks to Mike. He really led me through that whole performance. He kind of protected my performance with all these heavyweights around it. He was like, "No, no, this boy is funny. Let him say his thing." And yeah, it was I really miss Mike a lot. Um, we're a lot of those, on our show we do Ghosts, which is a song I love, and about the people
Mm,
we miss. And Matthew Perry was a close friend of mine, and I miss Mike
mm,
Nichols really badly, and I miss Robin, and Gene Hackman's no longer with us either, and
mm,
um, so I often shout them out before Ghosts on our
what
show.
a cast!
it's awesome. Hank, I just have to say that, it's one thing for us as viewers, intakers of the art, we have that connection. We feel like we have that connection, but we're not really, not in real life, but to us it's real. But when Robin passed away, that's one person that passed away that was a celebrity star. But to me, he took a little bit of me with him because he was there my whole life growing up watching Mork and Mindy, watching Happy Days and everything else that he did. It's
Yeah.
like you grow up with somebody, they're part of who you are as a person. So when he left, that it still gets me.
Same for me. It's funny, right? You don't always know which like when Paul Newman and Robert Redford passed away, I got to work with Robert Redford. He directed me in movie Quiz Show.
Mm,
Uh, but even besides that, same, and Robin too. And I got to work with Robin a few times. But there's certain celebrities that you really, and you're surprised when they pass, right? How personally you take that. You can, have you found, I don't know how many folks you met, but like, I knew when I met Bruce, I was going to flip out, and I did. Okay. Worse than I even thought. I went beyond. My voice went up 7 octaves, and I started screaming like a girl at Beatlemania. It was ridiculous. But sometimes you get surprised by I went to the Oscars. It was like 1988, and my girlfriend at the time was dancing in one of the numbers at the Oscars. So I got to sit like way at the back. I basically was a seat filler. They moved me around, but I'm on the aisle. It was the year that Dustin Hoffman won for Rain Man. That's how far back this goes.
wow.
And so I'm on the aisle, and every celebrity in the world is passing right by me. And it's really cool. Do you know I lost my mind when I saw, and if you asked me would I care, I'd said no. But when I saw them in person, more than anyone else, Vincent Price.
Hmm.
Vincent
Wow.
Price walked
Wow.
right by me, and I was like,
Wow.
oh no, I don't even know if I would have told you I liked him that much before that, but he's so iconic. All those horror movies I grew up with, that
Wow.
seeing him, I just couldn't even, I couldn't even deal with it.
Jeez.
It happens. Brendan O'Brien tells the story where Bruce's producer for what, Stan, 4 or 5 albums. Brendan O'Brien, first time he met him, Bruce brought him in because Eddie Vedder recommended him. He brings him in, and Brendan totally fanboys out, and Bruce was not having it. Like, he doesn't want to hear that. And
Mm.
once Brendan got past that, first few minutes and they settled down and started talking about the business, like that's when Bruce really made that connection. But you can't help it. Like, you meet somebody like that, what are you gonna do?
No, I mean, it's funny. We at The Simpsons, we've had almost every rock legend come in and do some lines.
Mm.
And so I've met many, and I knew, when I met Mick and Keith, I was going to be really excited, and I was.
Wow.
That Tom Petty was like the sweetest guy ever. Elvis Costello was awesome. They all were incredible. And now I love this guy's music, but if you had asked me beforehand, would I have the biggest reaction to him? I would have said, I don't think so. But I couldn't even speak in David Byrne's presence. Something
Wow.
about his
Wow.
presence, I was like, I couldn't, I don't know. There's something about his aura, or
Wow.
I don't know. You can't call these things sometimes,
Mm.
you know?
We internalize it, as the intakers, we internalize this all, so we don't know how quite deeply those connections are until, you have
You
that
don't know
moment.
until you see the person, like how you really feel about them, or when they pass.
Mm.
So when you met Bruce, was it by happenstance? Did you like, was it a, give us the details.
Uh, I tell this story sometimes. He was really, really kind and patient with me. I was doing Monty Python Spam-A-Lot on Broadway, and usually we knew what celebrities were in the audience because not many people know this, but in Broadway musicals, there's a camera on the conductor and there's monitors backstage. So if you're singing off stage, you know when to come in. But like after a month of doing the show, you don't need that. So, but the camera could move. So we would point it at where we knew the celebrity house seats were to kind of clock their reaction to the show in real time. Enormous invasion of privacy, but we'd like to know who was there. And for about a year, every celebrity in the world came to see that show. It was big. We'd have Tom Hanks and Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. And I mean, and they'd come back and say hi after like every show. It was incredible for like a year. So one night I wasn't aware of anybody being there of note. And there was just a knock on my dressing room door after the show. I'm just getting changed. I open it and Bruce is standing there alone. And I just went like this, just like, I wish I would have left it at not speaking. Okay. And he was really sweet. He came in and kind of gave me his review of the show. It's like, I love that show, man. Started out as a celebration of it started out kind of silly and funny, and then like it became this, celebration of comedy, and then the music was like a celebration of musicals, and by the end, it was just kind of about life and love. It really actually kind of touched me by the end. And he talked long enough for me to get up the nerve to tell Bruce what he meant to me, and I said, Bruce, I got to tell you, uh, your music meant so much to me growing up. I had some very hard times, especially as a teenager. And not just your music, but your talks, as we called them, were really encouraged me to be creative and to just follow who I wanted to be, because that's what you did. Um, and I can honestly tell you that I don't think I'd be standing backstage at the Shubert Theater talking to you if not for you. Uh, that is what I said, which is lovely, but that is not how I said it. I literally went, Bruce, I'm just gonna tell you, so much as a teenager, I went for a hard time. Honestly, I don't think you could understand what I was saying. And really, and he very patiently kind of took it in, and he gave me this really loving, very fatherly pat on the shoulder and went, that's great. Okay, thanks a lot. And within about 20 seconds, he found a reason to get out of there. I think he talked to the rest of the cast. I don't blame him. So wait. So then years later, I'm at Bruce's Broadway show with my wife. And a guy comes up at intermission and says, do you want to say hi to Bruce after the show? I'm like, of course. And I say to my wife, Kate, okay, I'm not going to blow it this time. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be cool. And so we go downstairs and there's like a receiving line for Bruce and Patty. And I'm literally squeezing Kate's hand. I'm doing deep breathing exercise. And he gets to us. He and Patty get to us. I'm like, don't blow it. Before he can say hello, I go, Bruce, you played growing up. I love growing up. My senior yearbook, high school page, are all the lyrics to growing up. I wish I had the yearbook. I would show you the yearbook. And he looked at me again, very kindly, as if to say, aren't you the nut that fucked this up the last time? Same fatherly shoulder pat. Kind of like, you're going to be all right. And he and Patty were gone. And my wife was like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I can't help it. I can't contain it. I can't.
I had that moment, and I know many of the Spring Nuts have had that moment as well. I mean, you just like we had the book signing tour when he did the Born to Run, and people came up to him and they had like 30 seconds to say whatever they had to say for 50 years to him. So, they do want it, and they were all like, and there were times me, my wife, whatever, we also, it's impossible. It's just like you want it so much you want to say, and it's
If I said
Chinese.
it the way I said it to you guys, it probably would have gone well.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
Well,
think. But when you just scream into somebody's head,
well,
uh,
we get it. Don't worry. You're in the right place for this. Please, Spring Nuts is
Yes,
the right place.
you're
We
amongst
get
you're
it.
amongst fellow friends here.
Right.
So
You're in the right
well,
place.
it's really that is a lot of the spirit of the show. Is like people ask me after the first few, do you feel like a rock star up there? I'm like, no, I feel like what I am, which is a Bruce fan who is a bit who can mimic probably better than most people, who loves this music. And I'm just, we're all singing along at every show. I just grabbed the mic at this one. And, one of the amazing things about Bruce's music, I get asked a lot, what separates Bruce's music, do you think? And to me, I think sorry. Oh, wow, hang on. Let me just grab this so it doesn't keep ringing. Um, it's the movie that plays in your head with his songs. I mean, it's such a narrative, and he also makes you feel like he's singing about you to you very
Mhm.
personally. Like when I was having those lonely bad times as a teenager, I wasn't kidding. I mean, I was like, okay, Bruce actually understands this. There's
Absolutely.
somebody out there who understands this and has made it beautiful. Um, and uh, So that's what I feel like as a fan, just, you know, expressing that. And I tell stories of what these songs, either what they meant to me or, I tell the story how I met my wife. I was love at first sight for me with my wife in front of She's the One. I tell the story about how my father actually once used to tell me to turn off Bruce music, much like Bruce's dad told him to turn down the guitar. My father used to yell out, turn down that Bruce Springsteen. And uh, but one day I was playing Thunder Road, and my dad came in my room and he got caught by the song, and he listened to the whole thing. He just stood there. He'd never done that with any other song before or after, and he just stood there listening to the whole thing. And afterwards, he went, "It's a nice song." I was like,
Ah.
"We know."
So there's some people that are saying here, and it's true. He goes like, when you came to the serenade, and we thank you for that. Is that the same reaction that you had with Bruce, and we have with Bruce, is some of the same reaction they had with you when they saw you there, and they had to come talk to you, and they were fanning out, and they didn't know what to say. But there were some
I
people
get it
saying that.
sometimes, but I think Bruce gets it like 24/7.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Where,
But
where did you get the idea to do the show, Hank? Where did that come that, hey, I want to do a Springsteen show on stage music?
When I turned 60, I'm not like I never was I'm bummed that I'm turning an age guy. But 60 was sort of a little daunting to me. And I normally don't celebrate my birthday, or I do, but I like, I'll take some friends to a Met game on one day and then I'll have dinner another night and then me and my son will do another. I don't like make a big deal, but it felt sad to not do something big to me. But the idea of a party for my 60th sounded horrible. And then, as you may know, right, nostalgia sort of takes on a different meaning the older you get. It becomes this overwhelming, aching longing for the past and not just some kind of fond memory thing. And Bruce's music, all that music we've been talking about can do that to me, but Bruce's music especially. So leading up to 60, I was playing it a lot and getting kind of as emotional about it as I had gotten when I first heard it again, um, meaning in a different way. And I got this crazy idea that if I threw a party and created like a reunion, like a college reunion and a high school reunion and a camp reunion and a Broadway reunion, then I could have like 500 people there. I wouldn't really have to host because they'd all have each other at this reunion kind of thing. And most of my friends are Springsteen fans, so I'm gonna tell them, oh, I got this great Springsteen cover band coming, but not tell them that I've been working for months to front it. And because I would fit, because that also, and then I'm out of the party, I'm just performing. Like I hired myself to perform. And and it would be like a way to just have this joyous experience. And it's been a long time since I also had a vocal challenge, like since I had a job where I really had to dig in and work vocally. And I kind of wanted to do that just for myself and not because Disney or Fox was paying me to do it. So that's sort of how it got all born. And then I fell into this obsessive rabbit hole of discovering the songs in a new way, of learning how to sing properly. Because to me, I'm not singing, I'm imitating Bruce. Because all through my career, I've had to sing, but I never really wanted to take the mechanics of it seriously because it's never, I think, because I always felt like I can never be as good a singer as I am a vocal mimic. So why try or something? But once I started kind of unlocking Bruce's voice in certain songs, I just found so much joy in it. Um, and that I just didn't want to stop. So that's kind of how it all happened.
Hank, I can tell you, I'm a huge Elvis fan. Today's Elvis's birthday, so I'm wearing an Elvis t-shirt. So he's my guy. Bruce is my guy, but Elvis is like up here for a lot of different reasons. Anyway, my point is, I don't like Elvis imitators. What I love
Yeah.
is artists who take his music and do their own thing with it. You are not imitating him. Your voice is a reflection of it or a refraction of it. So you're not imitating him. I love it. I watched all the videos that I could find today. You do a fantastic job. How hard was that for you to like find that like how many, you said you worked for a long time leading up to your birthday party. How long like how much work was that for you to get to that point where you felt comfortable?
By the time on my birthday, there's a reason why I did it on a log for friends and family. It was, not really meant for public consumption. And I had over rehearsed leading up to it to the point where I blew out my vocal cords really. And I was so nervous the day of my party that I actually threw up from nerves, which I've never done before or since from
Wow.
performance nerves.
Wow.
I would have given anything at noon on my birthday party not to do it. And I knew from Broadway, I'd blown out my voice a couple of times that I had to get some cortisone in order to even just get through the night. Um, but it's funny. I really am trying. Certainly, our band sound, the musicians were trying to recreate the sound of the E Street Band as exactly as we can, in the same way that like the Fab Four are trying to sound like Beatles album music. And I, as a mimic, I'm trying to sound as much like Bruce as I'm trying to recreate really more his live performances than his album performances as much as I can. And I've been at it now for almost 2 years. My key has come up like some songs I actually sing in Bruce's key now, some only a half step below, and that kind of helps it sound more like Bruce. So I am trying to be a Bruce. I'm not trying to be an impersonator where I like Bruce in the USA, where I come out and I have a Clarence guy and a Roy Bittan guy. I'm not trying to do that or pretend I'm Bruce. But and it comes out, of course, as you say, through my own filter. So trying to sing as well as I can. But look, the ultimate compliment to me, like I played my son our most recent recording of Dancing in the Dark. And I said, listen to this, listen to how it's improved in the last couple of years. And I played it for him and he went, oh, that's really cool. Now play me your version. I was like, that was my version. He goes, that wasn't
Well,
Bruce? I'm like, no, no.
Wow.
that's
To
big.
me, that's like, because I'm a mimic at heart. That's what I want Al to sound, I want all day afternoon to sound like Al. That's the point, you know? And so that's what I'm trying to do. But I can't embody, nobody can, you know what I mean? But me trying to embody Bruce is kind of interesting. And my version of that, what's funny too, at that party, I wanted to tell stories because I knew that most of the crowd were Bruce people, but some of them might not be. So I wanted to tee up the songs with some context. Bruce
Mhm.
wrote this is early Bruce, this was this song, this song's about blah blah blah. Um, so I'm relaying, and then some personal stories to me. In the middle of growing, that great recording of Growing Up where he tells about the motorcycle accident he had?
Yep. Mhm.
When we do Growing Up, we do that version, and I tell the story of how I met Bruce, or the two times I blew it meeting Bruce, and Blood Out so on. And uh, so as I'm working that up, those monologues, I didn't know whether to tell him as me or talk as Bruce, because it felt weird to tell a story about how I met my wife as Bruce. And so I tried it out, actually for my wife. And I said, which version do you like? And the story about my dad with Thunder Road and a bunch of others. And for some reason, even though I'm talking about myself, telling them as Bruce seemed to work. It's like this spoken word character. Bruce's poetry and rhythm, even when he talks, it just lends itself. And the themes, this was unconscious when I was writing these things. They're Bruce themes. My relationship with my father, my relationship to young love, my teenage heartbreak, how I feel about people I miss. Um, it's funny. It just seems to, I'll break character. And I'm not like, Daniel Day-Lewising it where, you have to call me Bruce or something. But it just works to kind of deliver it as Bruce.
Who
You
do
do
you
that. You
find?
do.
You
Sorry.
mentioned your birthday party, mostly Bruce fans. Who do you find comes to your shows? Simpson fans, Bruce fans, combination of both?
It's a combination. I would say it's mostly Bruce people,
Yeah.
people interested in a Bruce cover band. People who would go to that show. And then there's a faction of Simpsons folks, and I throw some Simpsons voices in there during the show.
The thing
Hank,
is that watching your videos and watching the live shows and just watching some of the comments here that for spring nuts that have come to the shows, you're having a blast up there. And it must, and that's the best part of it. It's like, as Springsteen fans, I think I'm not speaking for everyone, but I'll speak for myself. It's just like when we go see a cover band, we're not, I don't think people want to see, you know, someone who's trying to imitate Bruce, like Ryan said, or anything. We just want to see their version of it. And, you're like, even the version that we posted this morning on Prove It All Night, it was the Easy Street Band was spot on, and you were having a blast, and everything was good, and it's good, and you could tell that the fans are eating it up, and that's the best thing. That's the best thing you can pull out of a Springsteen cover show. I would like to point out, so it doesn't get lost in transition, that Spring Nuts, if you're in New York City, big show, big show this Sunday, the 11th at Sony Hall in Times Square. Okay, Hank and his legendary Easy Street Band are performing, and trust me, the videos don't do anything justice. You need to be there and experience this firsthand. It's a joy, and you'll have a blast. So if you're in the area, check it out.
Yeah,
So
please come. Sony Hall, Midtown, Paramount Hotel, 8 p.m. we go on. It's uncharacteristically for us, it's a little bit of a pricey ticket, this one, because it's a big industry showcase because the APAP convention's in town, whatever. So a lot of industry folks are going to be there. Um, so and Sony Hall's kind of a fancy upscale venue. So it's a little bit of it's like $100 or something. But please come if you all our net proceeds go to charity. You should know that. So if you can afford that, please come check us out if you're a Bruce fan or a me fan.
Hank, you're coming out to Chicago area in March, so
Yeah.
I live in the Chicago area, so I'll see you there that night.
Oh, in
Um,
Elgin?
yeah, in Elgin.
Cool.
So I'll see you there. Hey, I just want to tell you, as far as his speaking voice and his singing voice, it's tricky because, he's got a little bit of a country growing up in Little Texas and Freehold with a lot of Southern people. He's got that weird twang country East Coast, but his singing voice, it's all over the place. Like he can sing ballads, like very clean, incredibly high quality vocals, clean ballads, but the gravel and everything. So you do a great job of like finding that balance that works for you. I just wanted to say on a personal note, I listened to the Thunder Road today. Your intro about your dad, like that really got me. My dad passed away 2 years ago, very close to me, so that really got me. I think you do a great job with telling the stories with the songs, so that works. So as far as your set list, I see Glory Days, Dancing, She's the One, Thunder Road, Born to Run, Prove It, Promised Land, Candy, Rosie, and Backstreets. How many songs have you guys worked up to where you could walk out on any given night and play?
Right now we got about 25. We're also going to do Jungleland uh, and Ghosts and
nice,
An electric version of Atlantic City we added. Um,
nice.
the one from that MTV Unplugged,
Mhm.
Plugged Unplugged, which
Yeah.
I loved that. That blew my mind when I first saw that. Um, so yeah, we have about 25 songs. You know what my dream is? Um, like I said, I love Elvis Costello and that spinning songbook tour that he did.
Hmm.
Did you guys see that? Um, I'd love to do that because I love playing with the crowd. I'd love to have somebody come up and spin a big carnival wheel
Mm.
with like 30 songs on it and whatever pops up. I think Bruce fans would get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Whatever comes up on the wheel, that's what we play.
Do
So
you
how
need
do you
do you need a teleprompter like Bruce has?
Not yet. I've heard the quote. I've heard Bruce has said, if the sound goes out, we still got a show. If the lights go out, we still got a show. Prompter goes out, no show.
That's true. Yes.
So I have a question that actually I promised somebody I would ask. So do you have a favorite Bruce song that you like to perform?
It's like asking me a favorite Bruce song that I
Yeah.
like to listen to.
Okay,
It's
so
like
we can scratch
literally,
that
I've
question.
narrowed it down to like 84, like a top 84. And so, like, no, like lately, Ghosts, honestly, the song means so much to me. And
Right.
it's so much fun to sing that song. And a lot of it for me, at first I overdid that gravel because I was just trying to get the impression, and people tend to overdo his gravel when they're impersonating him.
Hmm.
And I did. And now getting that clear tone you mentioned, which I associate, more with his album sound, and some live recordings. Uh, and so finding that, raising that key and getting that more that clear bell tone that he can have, and where the gravel is just kind of added as an accent. Um, and that song is really, to me, I kind of broke through a few months ago on that kind of belty, non-gravel Bruce tone. So I've really been enjoying that. And that's part of like I'm such a vocal geek that that's what I love most about this. Like each song is like a puzzle to, figure out and unlock and see if, and I'm so familiar with Bruce's live sound. Like we all know not just the live version of Rosalita, we know 17 live versions of Rosalita. And
True.
so you borrow one from the other. I don't need to like go study more. I do. I'll go research and go, oh, that's interesting what he did there. And sometimes I'll do it because sometimes what he sings is too hard. I mean, he's Bruce, right? So you try to find a version where he kind of backed off, or it's a little more gettable for a mortal to sing. I'm like, oh, that works. I can do that version in there. So I get really familiar with, and I'll mishmash them a bunch, and then you kind of get familiar with, what's a Bruce sound that'll work in a song, and feel like it's him. You know what
So
I mean?
with Ghost, like we know it from the last tour, he would count them in. Have you worked through your count-ins for all the different songs?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's my one of my favorite parts of the show. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like the best part.
Here's a strange question. Have you ever been to Minsk?
No, only in spirit.
In spirit, okay. That's a Friends reference, by the way, in case anyone but and you were phenomenal on that as well on Friends. That was a great gig for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I loved Matthew Perry was a dear friend of mine, and it was fun to be
Yeah.
able to do that with him. And it was fun just to be a part of that. It was like they had sort of like a Beatlemania going for a while.
Oh yeah, for
Still
sure.
kind of does.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hank, you mentioned the foundation 4 through 9. That's
Yeah.
where, can you talk a little bit about that?
Started that a few years ago. I've been giving primarily to education for about 30 years. And then I started expanding that to human rights and social justice. I'm also a sober person. I've been sober 19 years. This
Nice.
summer, God willing, will be 20 years. And so I give a lot to mental health, wellness, recovery uh, causes as well. And then, so been so fortunate financially with The Simpsons that it just made sense to start a foundation where you could just set aside money each year to give to whatever seemed worthy. And the night it kind of grew, the night of that first performance at my birthday, I said, no gifts, but if you like, donate to the foundation. And we raised about 30,000 bucks that night. And I was like,
Nice.
wait a minute, why not do that gigging? We can play and then donate all the net proceeds to the foundation. That's what we've been doing.
What is the foundation about? Why don't you just tell us a little about it?
It's called the 4 through 9 Foundation. I named it that because in recovery, in the 12 steps, steps 4 through 9, when 4 is you take accountability for yourself, and 9 is you make amends, you give back. And so that was sort of my model for how to be a good person in the world. Um, and like I say, I would say I'm on the board at Dream School. Dream School is charter schools. There are 7 of them here in New York, in the Bronx and in Harlem. And Rich Berlin, who runs it, is a dear friend of mine and a big Bruce fan. And uh, so like I say, I'm on the board there, and that's like my primary place where I give. I'm also on the board of a organization called the Human Solidarity Project, and they do incredible work in human rights awareness, And then, like I say, a lot of recovery. We'll do scholarships too, just kind of one at a time. Like if somebody presents a student or somebody, a sponsor. My son's a big tennis player, so he's an aspiring college tennis player. So I'm always at McEnroe Academy here. And there's a kid there who is a talented player, but uh, uh, she could probably get a scholarship in college, but she needed support. So I gave her a scholarship, and I do have a few students like that. Things like that. It's a pretty it's not a huge foundation, but
Mhm.
money all goes to good causes.
Right, that's
Gotcha.
fantastic.
Well, we want to be cognizant of your time. We appreciate this. One question for you that several people have asked, you probably get this all the time. Is Bruce aware of what you're doing? Any kind of feedback?
It was really funny. So I have a dentist friend, very good friend, who's my son's buddy's dad, oral surgeon named Jason Debliger here in New York. And uh, one day I'm sitting on a plane. This is only a few months ago, and I get a video text from Jason. It's him in his office. I'm like, why is Jason giving me a video of him from his office? And I open it. I'm on a plane. We're about to take off, and Jason says, "Hank, where are you?" And he pans the camera over, and it's Bruce going, "Hank, it's Bruce Springsteen. I'm sitting here with a terrible toothache, but while I have a terrible toothache, I was fabulously entertained by your version of Prove It All Night, which I got to say,
Wow.
you do a pretty good job of it. And that band is incredible." I started crying, started crying. The guy next to me on the plane thought I was out of my mind. I was like, "I'm
Wow.
sorry, dude, look." And I showed him, like, "Look, it's Bruce." I started literally like fanboying as if Bruce were there. Um, and yeah, so, and in a way, I was like, I was so bummed I didn't pick because Brigid tried to call Jason at first, but I didn't answer because on a plane. And then I was like, if I'd answered the call, it would have been a thrill. But now I have this video for the rest of my life.
You can watch it a million times.
And
Yeah.
I have. I literally cried quietly to myself for 3 solid days after I got. And Bruce at the end of it went, "Keep going, man. Don't stop. Don't stop." So now I say that to the band in every show. I'm like, "Don't stop, kids. The boss told us to keep going. We got to keep going."
Wow.
Great. That's great. And one last question for me. You played the Stone Pony. I was at that show. You sold it out. What was like to be on the stage at the Stone Pony?
I
Bruce's
can't wait to
work.
come back. I just was talking to my agent today about we got to try to get back there
Yeah.
second half of this year. And actually, I was kind of nervous. It was the Mecca. I'd never been there before. Of
Wow.
course, it lived as like this Valhalla in my mind, of Bruceosity. Um, so I was kind of almost out of my body there. I loved the show, but looking back, I realized I think that was my favorite show, and I can't wait. And now having played all different kinds of venues, um, that model, that Stone Pony model, a club, about 1,000 folks, a pit, Bruce fans, a bar or three. That's where you want to be. And I can't wait to get back there. I mean, it really was one of my favorite experiences of my life.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Well, I
Fantastic.
wanted to say, also that, last year when you were kind enough to answer me and I was telling you that about our serenade, and when you first said, "Okay, I'm coming," because you were playing Atlantic City the night before,
Yeah.
and then I and I took a shot, and then you told me, like, a month before that, you said, "Yeah, I'm gonna be there, I'm coming," and then I let it go because things can change, and you're a busy guy, and you are, and then all of a sudden, a couple of days beforehand, you said, "Okay, I'm coming," and I was saying to myself, and again, it's the pony, and I'm saying, well, you know, I hope he understands that this is not like inviting him over to dinner for my house. This is Stone Pony. When he walks in, it's going to be the closest to Bruce that they're getting that night. So, and when you walked in, sure enough, you were in this corner huddled in. I think you were with Vinny Lopez. Also, you got
Yeah,
them
I met Mad Dog.
Yeah, I met Mad Dog that night. He comes to all the serenades, and I just want to, and all kidding aside, I want to thank you for that, for coming and being so gracious to everyone that came over to you. I know you made a lot of people's, day by seeing that, and you were phenomenal. And just for being personable and doing that for us, I wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really enjoyed it. Bruce fans are my people. Are you kidding? Seriously. I mean, my whole life, I really, that feel, part of the Bruce experience, maybe you guys feel this too, especially over the years. Of course, we're seeing Bruce, and that's the main thing. But, just being part of that in that crowd
Mm.
there's nothing that's like equal to me of the experience. That's like a big part of it. So to like to be, and I always kind of want to bond with folks, and I don't usually get to. Um, and
But
you know,
whether you like it or not, you're one of us, Hank. So
no, I like it. It's funny now, I've seen two shows since I've been doing this. I was in my first pit. I've only ever sat, but I stood in Albany right before my birthday, actually. And now we're all singing along, right? Now I get a kick out of really belting, um, as Bruce, and then people kind of turn around and look who's singing just like Bruce, along with Bruce. It's really, I like doing that at shows.
Well,
Not,
he's got some shows coming up. You can check out his website, easystreetnyc.com. You got will there be more shows throughout the year, Hank?
oh yeah, we're booked all year.
Okay.
So I don't know what we've actually announced, but
Yeah, there's only 5 shows listed here on
we're
the
playing
website. That's why I was.
Skill for you Westchester folks, I believe this month on the 23rd. I know we'll be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania the night before. We're going to
oh,
San
Westchester.
Ynez on the 30th. Uh, we,
And
we,
Elgin.
we'll be in Elgin in March. We're getting a lot of private gigs now too, which is fun.
Wow. Well,
A lot
we
of
need to talk about
yeah. Well,
that.
I got to say it's good for the foundation because they pay a lot. You know, it's nice to raise that kind of money.
Good.
Well, we greatly appreciate you taking the time. This has been a fantastic conversation. We could sit here and talk Bruce all for the next 5 hours.
Yeah, I could.
And I like your
Well, I got all night.
memorabilia in the background.
Like what?
Your memorabilia, you got a Max Weinberg signed drum head, I
You
see.
can tell that,
Yeah,
I got a little Bruce, little mini Bruce guitar somebody made me at one of the shows.
yeah, and you got the 45 of my hometown over your right shoulder, or
That's
yeah,
a recent Christmas gift.
yeah.
Well,
If you
got
come
good
to
eye.
Jersey Shore, I'll show you where that photo was taken. I take people around, give them Bruce stores around here. So,
We will definitely be down. My wife is from Philly. She used to go to Avalon every
all
summer.
right, look us up. We'll take you around Bruce's Jersey Shore, show you all the
We'll
sights.
be down, I think, for sure. We're playing Wildwood, which is I know is about
Mhm.
an hour south. We're playing
Yeah.
a festival in June. I think we'll be at the Jersey Shore for at least a week in June.
Okay, good.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Hank.
Thanks,
Yes.
Spring
Thank
Nut
you.
Nation.
We love you. And
Love you too.
all right, thanks for your
Thank you.
time.
Hey,
And
thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks again,
sir.
guys. Take
take
care.
care, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.